The message that would change humanity's destiny forever arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning at the United Earth Defense Command. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at her desk, dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing what appeared to be a routine status report from one of Earth's outer colonies. But there was nothing routine about what she was reading. "They've been lying to us from the beginning," she whispered, hands clenching into fists. The report contained irrefutable evidence that the Galactic Assembly, humanity's supposed mentors in spacefaring civilization, had been deliberately providing Earth with sabotage technology for the past 30 years. The Assembly had appeared in Earth's orbit 3 decades ago, offering friendship and guidance to humanity's first steps into the galactic community. They had seemed benevolent, sharing technology and knowledge that had accelerated human development. But now, Chen knew the truth. Every gift had been carefully designed to keep humanity dependent and controlled. Dr. Marcus Zhang, head of Earth's Advanced Research Division, entered her office without knocking. His usually composed face showed signs of barely contained anger. "The quantum drive specifications they gave us," he said without preamble, "they're deliberately flawed. We've been running tests in secret, comparing them to recovered debris from that assembly scout ship that crashed last year. Their actual drives are at least 50 times more efficient than what they claimed was cutting-edge technology." Chen nodded grimly. "It's not just the drives. Look at this." She gestured at the holographic display, expanding a section of the report. "Every piece of technology they've given us has hidden limitations. The shield generators, the communication arrays, even the medical equipment, all designed to keep us just advanced enough to be useful, but not enough to be truly independent." Zhang's eyes narrowed as he studied the data. "The Assembly's latest diplomatic transmission requests access to our quantum computing research facilities. They claim it's part of our technology sharing agreement." "They're getting nervous," Chen replied, pulling up another file. "Our progress in artificial intelligence and quantum mechanics is exceeding their predictions. They want to ensure we're not breaking free of their carefully planned constraints." A soft chime announced another presence. Dr. Amara Patel, Earth's leading xenobiologist, stepped into the office. Her expression was grim. "You need to see this," she said, transmitting data to the holographic display. "I've been analyzing genetic samples from various assembly species. Their biological enhancement technology is centuries beyond what they've shared with us. They've been keeping us practically in the Stone Age by their standards." Chen's jaw tightened. For 3 decades, humanity had looked up to the Assembly as mentors and guides. They had celebrated each piece of shared technology as a gift, never suspecting they were being fed crumbs from a feast. The Assembly had positioned themselves as benevolent teachers, while secretly ensuring humanity would remain forever in the role of students. "How many others?" Zhang asked quietly. "How many other species are they keeping leashed like this?" Patel brought up more data. "Based on my analysis of their medical database, at least 12 other younger species are being guided by the Assembly. Each one carefully controlled, their development strictly regulated." Chen stood, walking to the window overlooking New Shanghai's gleaming skyline. The city was a testament to how far humanity had come since first contact, but now she saw it differently. Every towering spire, every floating transport platform, every piece of technology, all of it designed to create an illusion of progress while keeping humanity firmly under the Assembly's thumb. "They miscalculated," she said finally, turning back to her colleagues. "They assumed we would be content with what they gave us. They didn't expect us to question, to experiment, to push boundaries." Zhang nodded. "The quantum drive research was just the beginning. We've been quietly improving every piece of technology they've given us, finding ways around their artificial limitations. The new shield harmonics we developed last month, they're twice as effective as anything the Assembly thinks we're capable of. And our biological research has gone far beyond their approved parameters," Patel added. "We've already found ways to improve their medical technology that they probably haven't even considered." Chen pulled up the secure communication channel. "Contact Director Evans at Luna Base. Tell him to activate Project Phoenix. It's time we showed the Assembly exactly what humanity can do when we're pushed too far. Across the solar system, in secret facilities hidden beneath the surface of Mars, inside asteroid bases, and in underwater laboratories on Europa, humanity's true technological achievements were about to be revealed. The Assembly had spent 30 years carefully controlling human development, never realizing they were creating exactly what they feared most: a species that wouldn't accept limitations, wouldn't stay confined, and wouldn't back down when the truth was finally revealed. The game of deception was about to end, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy that they were done playing by the Assembly's rules. Story continues with discovery of more deceptions, humanity's secret preparations, and the Assembly's growing suspicions. Operation Silent Thunder. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, director Rebecca Santos walked through a facility that officially didn't exist. The vast underground complex stretched for kilometers, filled with technology that would shock the Galactic Assembly if they ever discovered it. But that was the point. They never had. "Status report," she called out, approaching the central command hub where dozens of engineers and scientists worked at holographic stations. The air hummed with energy from systems far more advanced than anything the Assembly thought humanity possessed. Dr. Kai Chen, head of weapons development, looked up from his console. "The phase shift drives are ready. We've managed to improve efficiency by another 300% using principles they never taught us. The Assembly sensors won't even register our ships as anything more than background radiation." Santos smiled grimly. For 15 years, they had worked in these hidden facilities, taking the Assembly's gifts and completely reinventing them. While the aliens watched Earth's official research centers, humanity had been building something unprecedented in secret. "Show me the Prometheus," she ordered, following Kai to a massive observation window overlooking an underground hangar. The sight still took her breath away, a warship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Its sleek black hull seemed to absorb light, covered in geometric patterns that served as both armor and sensor array. "We've completed the final integration of the quantum core," Kai reported. "The power output is beyond anything the Assembly thinks is possible for our level of technology. Their own shields won't stand a chance against our weapons." A comm alert flashed on Santos's neural interface. "Admiral Chen's priority signal from Earth. It's time," the Admiral's hologram announced. "The Assembly's demanding access to our quantum research facilities. They're getting suspicious." Santos straightened. "How long do we have?" "Their inspection team arrives in 72 hours. We need to be ready before then." Chen's expression was determined. "Are the stealth systems tested?" "Better than tested," Santos replied. "We've had ships operating right under their noses for months. Their orbital platforms haven't detected a thing. Project Phoenix is ready for full deployment." Throughout the facility, hidden alerts began flashing. Personnel moved with practiced efficiency, initiating sequences they had rehearsed countless times. In sealed hangars, ships powered up. In weapons labs, final calibrations were made. In command centers, battle plans were reviewed. "The Assembly's arrogance works in our favor," Kai noted, bringing up tactical displays. "They're so convinced of their technological superiority that they never thought to look deeper. Their monitoring systems are designed to detect what they expect to find, not what we've actually built." Santos nodded. "How many ships can we field?" 50 capital ships, 200 escorts, all equipped with phase shift drives and quantum weapons, plus the defensive platforms we've hidden throughout the solar system." Kai's eyes gleamed. "They think they're coming to inspect a primitive research facility. They have no idea they're walking into the most advanced military force this side of the galaxy." Another alert, this one from Luna Base. Director Evans's hologram appeared. "The Assembly's getting impatient. They're pushing for immediate access to our quantum labs. I don't think we can stall them any longer." "Then we don't stall," Santos decided. "Admiral, are we go for Phase 1? Chen's hologram nodded. The Council has given unanimous approval. Humanity has played weak long enough. Show them what we've really been doing all these years. Throughout the solar system, hidden facilities sprang to life. On Mars, massive hangar doors began to open. In the asteroid belt, weapon platforms emerged from their camouflaged positions. Around Jupiter's moons, sensor arrays far more advanced than anything the assembly had shared began actively scanning space. "Send the signal to all ships," Santos ordered. Operation Silent Thunder is now active. Show them exactly what happens when you underestimate humanity. In high orbit around Earth, the Assembly's monitoring stations continued their routine surveillance, their operators confident in their absolute technological superiority. They had no way of knowing that humanity had long since surpassed their carefully placed limitations. They were about to learn that keeping humans contained was like trying to hold back the tide with a paper dam. The revolution wouldn't just change humanity's place in the galaxy, it would shatter the very foundations of the Assembly's power. And it would begin not with a bang, but with the ghostly silence of ships that should not exist, moving through space in ways the Assembly had never dreamed possible. Breaking the chains. The Assembly inspection fleet arrived exactly on schedule, a show of force disguised as a diplomatic mission. 5 of their most advanced warships dropped out of hyperspace near Earth's orbit, their crystalline hulls gleaming in the sunlight. From their perspective, everything seemed normal. Earth's primitive defense platforms tracked them openly, while the officially registered human ships maintained their designated positions. Ambassador Vexthor stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, his elongated features showing the subtle signs of amusement his species was known for. "Send the final warning to their defense command," he ordered. "Remind them that resistance to an official Assembly inspection will result in immediate sanctions." The warning was unnecessary. The humans had already agreed to the inspection. But Vexthor enjoyed these little displays of power. After all, humanity was just another young species that needed to be kept in its proper place. The first sign that something was wrong came from their sensor officer. "Ambassador, I'm detecting some unusual energy fluctuations, but they're not matching any known patterns. Probably their crude attempts at quantum experimentation," Vexthor dismissed. "That's why we're here, after all. To ensure they haven't stumbled onto anything they're not ready for." The sensor officer frowned. "Sir, the fluctuations are moving." Before Vexthor could respond, space itself seemed to ripple. Where there had been nothing but empty void, ships appeared. Not the bulky, primitive vessels the Assembly had guided humanity to build, but sleek predators of black metal and impossible geometry. "Impossible," Vexthor whispered, his amusement vanishing. "Their technology level couldn't possibly." "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force." A transmission cut through their communications. "Your inspection is denied. The Assembly's authority over humanity ends today." Around the Assembly fleet, more human ships materialized. Their sensors couldn't get clear readings. The vessels seemed to exist in multiple phases at once, their energy signatures defying analysis. "They can't have this technology," Vexthor sputtered. "We monitored everything. We controlled every advancement." "That was your first mistake." Chen's voice held a hint of satisfaction. "You watched what we wanted you to watch. You never looked deeper." The Assembly ships raised their shields, supposedly impenetrable barriers of energy that had protected them for centuries. The human vessels didn't bother firing conventional weapons. Instead, space around the Assembly fleet distorted as phase shift fields activated. "Their shields," the Assembly's tactical officer reported in shock. They're not even registering our defenses. Whatever they're using just passes right through." In orbit around Mars, Director Santos watched the confrontation through quantum-linked sensors. "All ships, execute containment protocol," she ordered. "Let's show them exactly what they've been missing." The human fleet moved with impossible precision. Weapons that shouldn't exist lanced out, carving through the Assembly's defenses like they weren't there. Not destroying, disabling. Each shot precisely calculated to neutralize without casualties. "This is your only warning," Chen broadcast. "Withdraw from Earth space immediately. The Assembly's guardianship is neither requested nor required." In the Assembly's Grand Chamber 12 light-years away, alarms blared as the inspection fleet's distress signals arrived. The High Council gathered in emergency session, watching in disbelief as their supposedly invincible ships were systematically disabled by technology that, by their calculations, humanity shouldn't have for another century. "How did we miss this?" First Speaker Ixel demanded. "Where did they hide such advancement?" The answer came in a data burst that sliced through their most secure networks like they were made of paper. Files upon files of human research, development, and innovation, all conducted in secret while the Assembly's watchers focused on their decoy programs. "You didn't miss it," the transmission read. "You saw exactly what we wanted you to see. Now you're seeing what we really are." Back in Earth orbit, the Assembly fleet hung powerless, their mighty ships reduced to floating hulks by weapons they couldn't understand. Vexthor stared out at the human vessels that surrounded them, his worldview crumbling. "Your ships will be escorted to the edge of the solar system," Chen informed them. "Return to the Assembly. Tell them that humanity is no longer accepting their guidance, and warn them, if they attempt to enforce their will through strength, they'll learn exactly how much we've advanced while they weren't watching." As the disabled Assembly ships were towed away, Santos received a priority message from their deep space monitoring stations. "Director, we're detecting multiple Assembly battle fleets mobilizing. They're calling for emergency response from all sectors." Santos smiled. "Good. Let them come. Humanity has been ready for this day for 15 years. It's time the galaxy learned that underestimating humans is the last mistake anyone should make." The revolution had begun. The Assembly's carefully maintained order was about to learn that some species couldn't be contained, couldn't be controlled, and wouldn't stay within the lines others had drawn for them. Humanity was breaking free, and they were about to change the galaxy forever. United we rise. The Assembly's Grand Chamber had never seen such chaos. Representatives from a dozen species crowded the ancient hall, their voices raised in anger and accusation. On the massive display screens overhead, footage from the Earth incident played on repeat. Assembly warships, pride of their fleet, disabled by human technology that shouldn't exist. The humans are in violation of every protocol. First Speaker Ixel shouted over the din. "They must be contained before." "Before what?" The question came from Kralvix, representative of the Nexeri, another young species under Assembly guidance. "Before they show others what you've been doing to us all." Dr. Amara Patel stood calmly at the speaker's podium, her hologram projected into the chamber from Earth. The Assembly had expected groveling, apologies, promises of compliance. Instead, they got truth. "For 3 centuries, you've presented yourselves as mentors to developing species," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos. "But you're not mentors. You're jailers. And we have proof." With a gesture, she filled the chamber's displays with data. Centuries of Assembly records detailing their systematic suppression of technological development across multiple species. Each file had been carefully encrypted, hidden away in secure databases. But humanity's quantum systems had torn through their security like tissue paper. "The Nexeri developed quantum theory a century ago," Patel continued. "You suppressed it. The Zorax were on the verge of discovering phase shift technology. You redirected their research. The Kelleri's genetic engineering could have cured diseases across the galaxy. You buried it." In orbit around Earth, Admiral Chen watched the transmission with satisfaction. Beside her stood Kexri, a Zorax scientist who had defected after seeing humanity's true capabilities. His serpentine form coiled in agitation as he watched his people's history exposed. "Your phase shift drives," he said quietly. "They're based on the same principles my ancestors theorized before the Assembly guided us away from that line of research." Chen nodded. "We found records of their work in the Assembly's archives." "Your people were brilliant, Kexri. They just needed freedom to grow. On a dozen worlds, Other species watched the broadcast. The assembly had thought their control absolute, their monitoring systems infallible. They never imagined that humanity would not only break free, but would expose the entire system of control. "We offer an alternative," Patel announced to the chamber. "Not control, but cooperation. Not suppression, but support. Earth is opening its universities, its research facilities, its technological database to all species who wish to learn." The Assembly Council erupted in protests, but they were drowned out by cheers from the younger species representatives. Centuries of resentment, of watching their innovations disoppressed and their questions deflected, boiled over. In deep space, Director Santos monitored the Assembly's military response. Their battle fleets were mobilizing, but they faced an unexpected problem. Ships from their subject species were refusing to join the formation. Some were actively deserting. "They're trying to lock down their subject worlds," her tactical officer reported. "Activating the control protocols they built into their gifted technology." Santos smiled. "Transmit the override codes. Show them what happens when you try to cage dozens of species with the same locks." Across the galaxy, assembly control systems failed. Defense platforms went dark. Communication networks shifted to new frequencies. The technology they had used to control their subjects turned against them. "Multiple species are requesting immediate technological assistance," Kai reported from his station. "The Nexeri have already pledged their fleet to our cause. The Zorax are offering their stealth technology. The Kellari want to share their biotech research." On Earth, the United Species Council convened for the first time. Not in a grand chamber designed to intimidate, but in a simple conference room where all seats were at the same level. Representatives from 15 former assembly subject species gathered to plan the future. "We've received intelligence that the assembly is preparing a major military response," Chen informed the council. "They're calling in ships from every sector, gathering the largest fleet in their history." "Let them come," Kralvix of the Nexeri declared. "They'll face not just humanity, but all of us. Together, we are stronger than they ever imagined." The revolution was spreading faster than anyone had predicted. Species that had been kept isolated from each other were now sharing innovations, combining technologies, breaking through centuries of artificial limitations. The assembly built their power on division and control, Santos observed, watching the alliance grow. They never considered what would happen if their subjects united, if we all stopped accepting their limitations. The final confrontation was coming. The assembly was gathering its forces, preparing to crush what they saw as an insurgency, but they still didn't understand what they were truly facing, not just humanity's hidden strength, but the combined potential of every species they had tried to contain. The galaxy was changing, and there would be no going back to the old order. The chains were broken, and together they would forge something new from their fragments. Dawn of a new era. The Assembly's grand fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 2,000 warships, the largest armada ever assembled in the galaxy's history. Their crystalline hulls formed a vast wall of light, stretching across space like an artificial constellation. Supreme Commander Vexthar stood on his flagship's bridge, watching the tactical display with cold satisfaction. "Let this be a lesson to all who would defy the natural order," he declared. "No species rises beyond their assigned place." But the Sol system appeared empty. No defense platforms, no patrol ships, nothing but silence and void where Earth's fleet should have been. Multiple quantum fluctuations detected. His sensor officer suddenly called out. Energy signatures. Everywhere. Space rippled, and the true face of the resistance was revealed. The combined fleet of the liberated species shimmered into existence, humanity's phase-shift vessels flying alongside Nexeri quantum ships, Zorax stealth cruisers, and Kellari living vessels. 500 ships, each incorporating technology the Assembly had tried to suppress for centuries. Admiral Chen's voice echoed across all frequencies. "This is your only warning. The Assembly's reign of suppression ends today. Withdraw or face the consequences of your actions." Vexthar laughed. You face the combined might of the Assembly. Your parlor tricks and stolen technology cannot hope to. His words cut off as his tactical display exploded with new contacts. Throughout the asteroid belt, hidden weapons platforms activated. From Jupiter's moons, massive energy signatures bloomed. Around Saturn, cloaked shipyards revealed themselves. You still don't understand. Chen's voice held a note of pity. You're not fighting just humanity anymore. You're facing every species you tried to chain. Every innovation you tried to bury. Every dream you tried to kill. The battle that followed would be studied for centuries to come. The Assembly fleet, for all its numbers, found itself facing weapons and defenses they had never imagined. Humanity's phase-shift technology combined with Nexari quantum fields and Zorak stealth systems created ships that could appear anywhere, strike from impossible angles, and vanish before retaliation. Director Santos coordinated the defense from Mars Command, watching as decades of preparation and cooperation paid off. All units, execute Pattern Omega, she ordered. Show them what happens when you try to cage the creativity of 15 species. The Assembly's formation shattered as their carefully programmed tactics proved useless against technologies they had never prepared for. Their ships, mighty as they were, found themselves unable to lock onto targets that existed in multiple quantum states at once. Their shields, designed to stop known weapons, offered no protection against phase-shifted energy beams that simply ignored them entirely. In the Assembly's Grand Chamber, the remaining Council members watched in horror as their fleet was systematically dismantled. Not through brute force, but through innovations they had spent centuries trying to prevent. How? First Speaker Ixel whispered. How did they advance so far without us knowing? The answer came from Dr. Patel, still addressing the chamber. Because you only saw what you expected to see. You were so convinced of your superiority that you never imagined we could surpass you. Every species you suppressed had the potential for greatness. Humanity just showed them how to reach it. As the battle turned into a rout, Chen transmitted a final message to the Assembly fleet. Your ships are disabled. Your weapons are offline. The age of suppression is over. Return to your worlds and prepare for change. In the days that followed, the galaxy transformed. The United Species Council, headquartered on Earth, began dismantling centuries of Assembly control protocols. Hidden innovations were brought into the light. Suppressed technologies were freely shared. Species that had been kept isolated were finally free to learn from each other. It's remarkable, Kexri observed, standing with Santos in Mars Command, as they watched ships from a dozen species work together to dismantle the Assembly's monitoring networks. In trying to prevent our advancement, they forced us to innovate in ways they never imagined. Santos nodded. They thought they could contain progress by controlling what we learned. Instead, they taught us how to think beyond their limitations. On Earth, the first galactic university opened its doors, not a tool of control like the Assembly's institutions, but a true center of learning where all species could share knowledge freely. The phase shift drives that had helped win the war became the foundation for a new age of exploration. The quantum technologies that had broken the Assembly's encryption sparked a renaissance in communications and computing. We're detecting unusual energy signatures from dozens of worlds, a sensor operator reported to Chen. It looks like species we haven't even contacted yet are starting to break through their technological barriers. Chen smiled. Good. Send them an invitation to join us. The galaxy is entering a new age, one where no species' potential will be artificially limited. The Assembly's fall marked more than just the end of an empire. It represented the dawn of a new era in galactic history, one where progress wasn't controlled, but celebrated, where innovation wasn't feared, but encouraged, where species worked together not because they were forced to, but because they chose to. Humanity had done more than just break free from their chains. They had shown the galaxy that true strength comes not from controlling others, but from helping them reach their full potential. The stars themselves seemed brighter now. beckoning with possibilities that no one would ever again try to suppress. The age of limitations was over. The age of exploration had begun.